I just didn't quit. That's the only distinguishing quality from me and probably whoever else going through this or went through this or is gonna go through this, is that I ain't quit. I went through every emotion. I went through every emotion with trying to pursue what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And I think that what's gonna separate whoever's gonna try to go for something is that you ain't gonna quit.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Trying a new photo angle here. Guys, let me know which one of these angles you think works best. But welcome back to the channel. On this episode right here, we're going to talk about the difference between Facebook ads versus Instagram influencers. So with both of these right here, you have two total different platforms to market on. And when you talk about platforms, you talk about the way that the customer takes in the information that you give them, essentially how they digest the content that you market in front of them. So when you take that into consideration, you got to understand, like for example, with Facebook, you're going to have a platform where when you post, it probably has a shelf life of probably 20 minutes to an hour before it gets lost in the feed. You know, when you're running ads for Facebook, you know, one thing you always want to take into consideration, especially if you're running a PPE ad, which is a paid engagement ad, is how many people are actually sharing this right here. You know, a share is like a trophy almost, because you got to think how many people they're putting your ad, your product, or your service in front of by just sharing it. That's why sometimes, I don't know if you ever heard the saying, you know, it's easy to support a friend. All you got to do is like their pictures and share their post, you know. But looking at Facebook ads, so with Facebook ads, your pros, your cons, one thing about that is you're going to be able to do everything on Facebook. Facebook essentially is going to be your ads manager that allows you to set up campaigns for both, for Facebook and Instagram. And inside there, you can control all the aspects of it. I know a lot of people see the boosted post. The boosted post button is not what you want to do. I always recommend always going into the backside on Ads Manager, preferably with a laptop if you have it. You know, sometimes I believe it's kind of hard to see and, you know, use on a phone. At least for me, I mean, there's so much data when you're looking at it on a screen, you know, you can look at. So I recommend looking at your Ads Manager on a laptop. In my opinion, the pros of using Facebook just to run ads are people really going to see them. You know, even though a lot of people really don't use Facebook as much anymore, you're still going to get in front of a lot of people. There still are a lot of die-hard people who use Facebook and use it multiple times a day. When running ads on Facebook, the way to compare measurements, if your ad is doing kind of good, you know, if you're still doing $5 budgets and $10 budgets, which is good, you need to be doing 4 to 5 multiple ad sets of the same type of ad, or, you know, dynamic ad. With Facebook, you have many ways to set it up. You know, when it really comes down to it, many people have many different formulas of success. You know, if you're starting e-commerce or if you're still working at it, you know, there really is no super secret sauce other than continuously trying and continuously testing. And when I say that continuously trying and continued testing is both product and audience and your ad set. So inside this ad set, you know, you want to try dynamic ads where you can see who's engaging with what post the most. You know, multiple variations of the ad. You know, when you talk to a man and when you talk to a woman, it's two different languages you want to speak. So, you know, knowing about your product, knowing about your audience, you know, goes a long way. That's why all the money is in the back end research. At the end of the day, having those profiles of your customer, these things go a long ways, because essentially before you even come to market, you want to be able to have all these bases covered. And after having those bases covered, you're coming to market, and you're coming to market with a little more pinpoint precision. You know, you're not just rolling the dice thinking, wow, well, if I test this product, will it work? You know, all that's been done on the back end. You know, one way to do it is to also look at AliExpress. You know, there's a lot of commonly bought products, commonly drop ship products that are great to private label because they're already showing you there's a lot of people buying it. A saturated market isn't always a bad market. At the end of the day, the way you market it, the way you package it, all these things come into play. And essentially marketing is conversating with your customer and doing that through audio, doing that through visual, and doing that in a 10-second window. And I know it's a complicated formula. I mean, I'm not trying to say that it's the most easiest thing to do in the world, but it's a perspective you need to take on it to allow you to have real success. And actually really, once again, use the social platforms to do what they're supposed to do, be social. And in this day and age, for a brand to have a face to it and have an energy and a persona to it, that is the best thing you can do at this day and time. Look at like McDonald's or Wendy's when they retweet something or make a comment about a competitor's brand. I mean, everybody laughs at it and it gets reposted, and it stands out. And at the end of the day, because you don't expect Wendy's to say to McDonald's, I'm gonna kick your ass. You don't expect them to say that. That's kind of left field. So you got to take stuff like that into consideration. That's why that is great marketing right there, and that's once again why branding is one of the best things you can do in this day and age, especially to have longevity. You want to make sure that you always get your post ID and always use your original post that you started with all your engagement on for your conversion ads. You never want to run a conversion ad that doesn't have any social proof on it already. By the time you reach conversions on either Facebook or Instagram, you want to make sure that both your Facebook and Instagram posts are both highly engaged with. I typically seem to find best results when I do contests or giveaways or make it engaging where people can tag their friends, once again keeping a social platform social. At the end of the day, nobody wants to be the first person to try something. So you may have good presentation, you might have a great price, but hey, if people don't feel like you're trustworthy or they're secondary on it, that split second thought is when you're going to lose the customer on either Facebook or Instagram. One of the pros of using Instagram influencers is that when you know that your site is set up and that you have all the ingredients in place, and the checkout process works, that the product is a winner, and who your market is. You need to know these things. You need to know it's a winner, and you need to know who your market is. And when you go in front of an influencer with your video or your picture, I recommend videos, from at least 6 to 15 seconds at least. You can go longer, but that first little window is what's going to define your customer, and if they stay or they go, because there's it's a world. So influencer, you're going to know exactly who your audience is. So you're going to know that, hey, people who like Beyonce, for example, we use Beyonce for example, more than likely like Jay-Z too. And this is just hypothetical. So we'll say that most people who like Beyonce like Jay-Z. So if you have something that, is relatable to a Jay-Z fan, when you put this in front of a Beyonce fan page, all the people who like Jay-Z, they're going to essentially look at your website and potentially buy your product. What I found is you have a great shelf life on Instagram, but if you're dealing with an influencer, you want to make sure that you know how many hours the post will stay up after you have paid for it. Sometimes people may keep them up for 6 hours, sometimes they may be 12, sometimes they could be 24, 48 hours, but essentially you want to make sure that you know exactly how long that post will stay up. I think, keeping a good eye on it after you've made that agreement and keeping the stats is a good way of going about it. Now in 2019, I think most influencers or bigger Instagram pages are familiar with influencer marketing and drop shipping tactics and people of the nature. So a lot of them tend to overly price their stuff to a degree, in my opinion, at this day and age. So, it's not like it was a few years ago where, a $30 shout out could really turn out to be something big. A lot of times now, if you're getting $30 or $40, you know, it's a hit or a miss, but there's still the potential, you know, depending on what kind of product you have, depending on who your audience is. You know, these are key factors in basically getting a good return on your investment from posting your product with an influencer. Now, the best way to contact an influencer is actually just to look at their main page. And when you're looking at their main page, what you'll look for is a contact email at the top. What you want to do is reach out to that email, say, hey, my name is so-and-so. I'm with the brand, this and that. From there, you would just basically say, we're interested in doing product placement with you. We would like more information about what packages may be available, what are your rates, and you know, what is the turnaround time from being paid and receiving the product from the actual post. Also, you know, another way to go about it is you can DM them. You can say, hey, you know, I'm interested, just like you would on the email, and see if they respond. You may, depending on what kind of influencer or what kind of Instagram page it is, get a response back there. Typically, if it's an influencer of big nature, they're flooded. Their inboxes are getting hit thousands of times a day, so you may never, ever get a response, and don't take it personal. When you're trying to decipher the price of an influencer, you want to take into consideration how big is their audience, how much engagement do they have, and what current Instagram algorithm modifications are being made. Instagram isn't like it used to be a few years ago, where you could actually, you know, if you had an audience of 300,000 people, you know, you'd really get in front of a good percentage of those 300,000 people. You'd be on the Explore page, you'd hit the main. A lot of that stuff the algorithm now only allows, you know, interaction with your post to a limited amount of people and limited accounts, and therefore, thus forward, do they really show your post to any people who may not have normally seen them, or hashtags may not populate just as well unless somebody subscribed or followed the actual hashtag. You know, the customers that you do acquire that aren't actually conversions, that are sales, you want to be able to know that you have a remarketing plan, whether that's, you know, an email campaign with a discount, a text message with a discount, or some kind of follow-up cycle, you know, within a certain amount of days, hours, or what you have not, you know, something of that nature. That way you can still acquire some of those customers, and they're not always all the way lost. You know, I know a lot of people, you know, they like to crunch their budget within 24, 48 hours, you know, and, you know, you got to take into consideration the ROI really is like a 7-day window after running influencer marketing with the various remarketing, targeting, and things of that nature. So you want to look for authentic comments inside the post as well. You want to make sure that, you know, it's not just a bunch of just emojis or people commenting random things, because at this day and age, anything can be bought. You can buy your likes, you can buy your views, you can do a combination of the two. So, you know, as the purchaser, you want to make sure that this is an authentic account and this is an authentic influencer. And another question to always ask yourself is, how saturated is this influencer? I mean, are they posting videos and pictures with all kind of other products every day, every other day, every couple hours? You know, you don't want to just be thrown up there as just another product that, you know, or somebody that's just easily bought. You want to find a good narrative with your influencer, one that you can show that the product is, you know, thrown into a skit, or that's how you'll win every time with an influencer, using product placement right there. Something to always consider when having an Instagram page and running Instagram ads. The best thing that I found is to find a hashtag that fits your brand or fits your movement or whatever it may be, in order to collect the data and keep the data in one place going forward. You know, the hashtags of Instagram are really the fibers of the community. So, you know, as you grow, using that hashtag right there is basically your storefront to a degree. That's kind of what you're selling out of to a degree. So it houses all your content and it speaks a message to your customer. So something to always take into consideration there with your marketing campaigns. Basically, if you can find a good organic influencer, you're basically going to build an organic business partnership. And with that business partnership right there, that leaves you open for multiple package deals going forward with, different variations from photo to video creation, and using that right there to remarket. However you remarket, you can find some good influencers between the range of 2 to 10,000 followers. Price wise, I usually would try to barter product. I try to trade off a product for content. I find that to be the best win-win. When you get over 10,000 followers and stuff like that, definitely negotiable for working as far as an influencer and paying to post on your page. But, I definitely always look for that. And if they're not willing to just do it with the product, I leave the doors open to work, and see if it's worth the time and the effort. There's a lot of factors I would take into consideration. But keep in mind that the same content that you have an influencer on Instagram you can repurpose for Facebook. So you repurpose it on Facebook, you repurpose it on Pinterest, you repurpose it on YouTube, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So you got to keep that in mind, when you're thinking, how much am I making back and so forth. But Instagram is probably your number one most used social platform in this day and age. It's July of 2019 as I make this right now. It's used by so many big name celebrities. In a sense, it's like a direct connection to keep up with the world almost, because everybody who's somebody uses this app right here. And once again, you're in the now. You're right there with the person, whether it's a celebrity or whatever. Everybody's really just an arm's reach away if they really want to answer back. You have the opportunity to message Donald Trump just like anybody else. Is he really manning his own social media and going to look and even care about what you have to say? With social media, you got to think, somebody pulls out their phone, 5 to 10 to 100 times a day. So the chances of you getting in front of them are huge, with the targeting that Facebook and Instagram both offer. So, at the end of the day, you got to take into consideration that, you may be a small business owner and you may know how to run a business, but you may not know how to market. You may not know how to repurpose content. You may not know how to edit content. These are going to be skill sets that you need to learn, though, to be successful in this online hemisphere, though. I recommend doing a variation of both. I recommend doing both Facebook and Instagram, but I recommend doing them all by themselves, both different separate campaigns each time. I typically would never ever just sit there and run an Instagram and Facebook ad at one time. It's two different languages in my book. I would really, highly advise to do separate campaigns and then crunch all the data. So what you'll have also is followers and a brand to a degree. And these followers are somebody that you definitely need to engage with, and that the best way that I find on Instagram to truly keep your followers engaged is to use the story feature throughout the day multiple times. Inside of these Instagram stories, you want to make them interactive, since you have the interactive feature now, and that means making polls. Do you like this? Yes or no? Then also making the questionnaires, did you know about this? Was this helpful information? Things of that nature, making the story post engage with, because the way you got to look at the story feature in Instagram, it's almost like TV was back in the olden days when you really had to wait for an episode, and boy, does that make me feel super old, because man, there used to be days, man, look at this right here. And that's the world we live in, is an on-demand world where social media and technology have made us the humans that we are now, that we need everything on demand. Another thing to take into consideration is to think outside the box right now. Influencer marketing is great. It's great for Instagram. It's great for Facebook. But think about other platforms, once again, that you have. You have Twitch, you have YouTube. Think about your industry and think about where, certain people are big at. These are the places that you want to look. Content is still king. You can repurpose content over and over again. And that's the great thing about like websites and things of that nature. You can always have a website that has a lot of traffic. You can always have them write a blog about your product and allow that to be a form of influencer marketing where they write the blog and they send the traffic and those customers turn into conversions. So if you have a product like a t-shirt or something, in the nature that's simple, that's an everyday item, don't expect a high return on things of that nature. Clothing is probably one of the hardest things to sell online, except if it's like a t-shirt for a certain month or I'm talking more about a product. I'm talking more about, something unique, something that's, not an everyday eye catcher. So products that are simple like t-shirts, with an influencer, I wouldn't expect huge results as far as return on your investment. I think you'd get a lot of brand awareness, and that'd be on you to follow up with the customer. With inside the ad on Instagram, I always try to use the caption to the best of my abilities. With Instagram, you're able to add those call to action features yourself, like tagging yourself or a hashtag. So you definitely want to make sure that you keep those call to actions right there in front of a person and not lost with inside the caption or there's definitely a language that you're conveying when you're running an ad on Instagram. But at the end of the day, I would definitely recommend Instagram over Facebook. But when you can master both of these and you can have both sales channels going, it's even greater. So, I'd encourage you to learn both platforms, become a master on both of those right there, and utilize these resources that's right in front of you and right in the palm of your hand. I hope you guys got some use out of this video right here. I hope you guys picked up a jewel or two that, you can use going forward. Let me know in the comments below what you think. What is your preference? Do you guys prefer influencers, or do you guys prefer Facebook, or is it a combination of both of them? I thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys smash that like button, and I'll catch you guys next round.
If you like this video right here, please show some love and hit the like button. Also hit the subscribe and notification button to stay updated for the latest videos. New videos will be dropping Thursday, 9 p.m. Mountain Time, so please stay tuned.